Hello, good evening. You're in the right place if you're joining us for our College Place Middle School orientation and informational seminar. My name is Andrea Collins and we'll have interpretation in a minute. Thanks for joining us. So thank you again and welcome. Thanks for joining us. I am Principal Andrea Collins at College Place Middle School. And this evening we have two fabulous interpreters to join us for opportunity to listen in another language. So I will begin with Patty. And now we have another interpreter for Arabic. And interpretation should begin now. This evening, we will cover a variety of topics. We'll also be recording this informational meeting in case you need to revisit at another date. We'll get to know a little bit of our school information, meet some other amazing support staff that we have here on campus. You'll see a day in the life of your student for middle school, grades 7 and 8, and then obviously some health and safety protocols, along with time for question and answers at the end. We'd like to begin with a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the original inhabitants of this place, the Homish people, and their successors, the Tulalip tribes, who since time immemorial have taken care of, hunted, fished, and gathered on these lands. We respect their sovereignty, their right to self-determination, and we honor their sacred spiritual connection with the land and water. By acknowledging these homelands, we commit to working with tribal nations to further the education aims they have identified in our classrooms and schools. I'd like to again introduce my colleagues who are here this evening. So we'll have a chance to hear from our amazing assistant principal, our student support advocate, and our grade level counselor, Miss Katie Johnson. So at any time in the participant category as attendees, would someone be able to add to the chat or a question that you can hear us? I apologize. Would any family be willing to write into the Q&A that yes, you can hear us? Okay, I saw a hand gesture go up. We can hear you. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. I just want to make sure. Again, it's a unique format, so thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your attentiveness. So again, we will then change over to meeting our counselor. So Miss Johnson, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Katie Johnson. I will be the school counselor for 7th grade students, and I don't get a lot of time to talk tonight, so I'm just going to say that I am so excited to get to know your students and partner with you as families to help your students be successful in middle school, and that's academically as well as socially and emotionally. So don't ever hesitate to reach out to me. There's a little bit more on the slide about what we do as counselors, but tonight I'm just keeping it brief and saying hello. I did want to make a quick note because all students and families are wondering about schedules. So we will have draft schedules, tentative schedules available on Skyward tomorrow by noon. And then we'll also have printed schedules. If you come for the self-guided tours, we'll have printed schedules there. And then students will receive their final schedule because sometimes things still change up until the very last minute. So students will receive their final schedule on the first day of school. But if you have any questions, please reach out.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. So on our first day of school, I think most of you have this this important date marked on your home calendars or where you keep track of your information, but it is Wednesday, September 8th for our first day of all 6 classes. Super excited. I can't reiterate what Ms. Johnson already said, but I'm really excited for the school year to start. I'm so happy to see all of your wonderful faces, and most of our communication is done through our eyes right now because we'll be wearing our mask all through the school day and whatnot. But just wanted to let you know that we're super excited to have you here. And again, oddly, we even mentioned the last day of school is on June 24th. And if you have other family members noticing that off start with the kindergartners starting on September 13th. So. And just wanted to also, in terms of also being a parent, typically we have 1 to 2 Fridays in a month for either a half day or non-attendance day. So just make note of those specific dates as well. We're going to talk a little bit about just how you can have access to your instructors. And we have a staff directory on our homepage where it lists you can type in the person's last name and then you can get their contact information. And usually it's a unique beginning portion of the email. So for mine, it's my last name and my first initial of my first name. However, some of our staff have a unique number variation within it as well. So just being aware of that, it's not a uniform, everyone has the same style of unique email address, just being aware of that as well. Mr. Figueroa, go for it.
Hi, everyone. I hope you are all doing well. If you hear a thumping coming from the walls that sounds like a tiger versus a gorilla, that's my 5-year-old and my 2-year-old tussling. Let's put it mildly. They're tussling. Hope you're all doing well. I actually have, I mentioned a 5-year-old going to kindergarten. He's going to kindergarten this year. And putting myself in your shoes, I'm a little freaked out. Now you've all been through that already, which I applaud you for, because just getting to know everything, even though I work in a school, it can be tough. So what I'm tasked with tonight, which I'm really thankful for, is talking about the ways that we're keeping everyone safe. And that's one of my big roles here for this year, is making sure that we have a really good, fun, and safe experience at school. So to start off, I want to talk a little bit about a day in the life of your student. Now, here's some really good news. I'm excited about this. We've got some pictures here, but I've also gone ahead and made some videos. I made some videos about the way that we are going to be coming back to school. So just welcome videos, lunch information, hallway information, cell phone information. So everything that you need as a family and as a student to start your year, I'm going to be sending out a YouTube link tomorrow. Tomorrow, just check your emails. It's going to go to parents, family members, and to students. And there's about 9 videos in there, with 1 more to come, just talking about how we're doing school. So to start off with just a couple of pictures, I'll start off with the middle picture, is we have a nice drop-off zone. We're not doing paper attestations this year. So instead of last year where you may have pulled up to your school and had to fill something out or fill something out beforehand, no, you're not going to need to do that. What we are going to need you to do is make sure that you're wearing a mask and that you're following the expectations being safe at all times. Now, when you're coming down, if you haven't been here already, our kind of drop-off zone has 2 lanes and some parking if you're not going down to the lower parking lot. Please make sure that you're pulling all the way forward before you stop to drop off your student. It can get really clogged in and it can result in a backup. So just making sure you're coming all the way in where that arrow is. The other thing I want to talk about is our classrooms. So right now we are following the Department of Health guidelines just as best as we can, making sure that we're keeping it as safe as possible. So we're setting up as much as possible 3-foot zones between one student and the other student. We're making sure that students are all wearing masks. We're making sure that there's a gel in, gel out system, so a hand sanitizer as they're coming into a classroom. And we're making sure that they're facing the same direction as well. So we know that the virus is airborne and it's coming through the respiratory system. So we're using a lot of strategies to mitigate that, to stop that. And we've got improved filtration. We're running those filters a lot. And so in the classroom, we're trying to make it as safe as possible. Same thing for the cafeteria, our commons. Now, I have to admit, what we've done with the commons is not the most comfortable thing, but it is the safest thing. My when I was designing this, I thought to myself, how can we make this even more safe than a restaurant? So what we did is we have some tables, but we're setting up little squares where students can be within a 6-foot zone of others. So with the mask off and doing some eating, they should be more than 6 feet away from the person next to them. Now, I'm also going to say we're really lucky. We have an outdoor school. Like, we have a lot of outdoor space. So what I'm going to really encourage is that students eat outside. So we're changing that this year, in that we're going to have 3 zones. And I have a video on this subject. So if you're like, what is he talking about? I wish I could see it. Guess what? Tomorrow you get to see it in the video I made. So you'll be able to see exactly what I'm talking about. So for parents and families, what I would want to communicate is that just make sure as we go into fall and winter, warm clothes, nice jacket, a good jacket. If you need any help with that, Chantel is someone that you can always reach out to, and you'll hear about that a little bit later. But we also just want to make sure that students are being warm and comfortable while being safe, and they're being outside. So just keep that in mind as we go through that. So, the big health expectation is that masks are required at all times. Now, I mentioned we've got an outdoor school, which is great because it's safer. It's not like Meadowdale Middle or Alderwood where you have to walk into one big building. We have a lot of outdoor space, but to be extra careful, want to make sure that those masks are on. You turn a corner, you don't know who's there, a little breath of surprise. No, we're just going to keep the mask on at all times. Physical distancing. Now, I can say that this was something, though I would say last year when we got back, students did a great job with masks. I was super proud. I thought, wow, like I wish every year people could follow these expectations as well as that one. I will say that making sure the physical distancing part is being followed, that's a big thing. In middle school, there's a lot of kind of jostling, some PDA because it's your first relationship. Unfortunately, we really got to address that. We really got to say, no, not this year. It'll be other times, but let's keep the PDA and the roughhousing at other times. And then finally, here's a tough message. Stay home when you feel sick. You're thinking to yourself, like, that's not a tough message. Like, that's how it's supposed to be. But really, it's going to be really important this year. Even if it's just a cold, even if it's just, can you back up just one more time? Stay on that one. Just even if it's a cold, those symptoms can spread. And when all their families or other students catch those, it's going to look like something more than it is. So we really want to limit the amount of disease or transmission as possible. And I know that's hard. I know that's hard on families. It's hard on me when the 5-year-olds, the school is closed for a few days. But it is the greater sense of community and making sure that we're all feeling safe and healthy. Okay, next slide. All right, so there is a COVID handbook put out by the district, and I do suggest that you take a look through it. And if you need any help with that, let me know. I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have about specifics. And this is a short time. I wish I had more time because I'm diving deeper into them, but I really want to make sure we cover every single part of what we're doing here. So daily health checks, like I said, we're not doing those at task stations, but I think it's worthwhile to just in the morning or even the night before, how are you feeling? Do you have any symptoms? And I think safe is better than trying something out. And that's something that I'm going to try to practice too. I'll admit in the past, I have been one of those people who shows up to work even with symptoms. We're like, what are you doing here? Can't do it this year. This year, really going to have to take that step back and take care of myself. And I would hope that you all do the same thing. Okay, next slide. So what are these symptoms that we're looking at? So there's a fever. That's the big one. Hopefully if there was a fever, the student wouldn't be coming at all. Cough. So this could be a cough that's just popping up. It could be something that is lasting a little bit longer. It can be a judgment call sometimes, but I would say really, if you have a cough, try to stay home. And if you're worried about it or need to talk to someone about it, we have a great school nurse who would love to talk you through, like, is this a stay home kind of thing? Shortness of breath, difficulty breathing, chills, unusual fatigue. Now that's middle school, so that one's a tough one. All of our students have unusual fatigue, but that is a tough one. Like you have to know if it's below their baseline. And then muscle and body aches as well. A new onset of a headache, sore throat, sudden loss of taste and smell. That's a big one. Congestion or runny nose, not attached to allergies, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. And so before I get into this slide, I want to say something that's a little difficult, but I want to just kind of level with you all. One of the things that is tough is that for some students, if they show up saying that they have a symptom that we cannot see, we have to trust them. So if for some reason they've asked to stay home and you said, nope, you're going to school, and they show up and they say, you know, I have this, we have to fall on the safe side. So this happened a couple of times last year. And one thing I can promise is we'll make the call and we'll talk you through it. But just keep in mind, we really want to make sure that we're having that communication open and we're helping our students make some good choices and being really honest with how they're feeling. Okay, next slide. Cleaning and disinfecting, we have just the most amazing custodial staff, and they do such an amazing job of cleaning and disinfecting. They've cleaned stuff I didn't even realize needed to be cleaned. So they are amazing, and they really prioritize those high usage areas like doorknobs or the lunchroom or things like that. So we've got some great setups there. So we also have this ventilation. And that really is airflow. We have increased airflow through our school, and you can hear, if you walk into a room, you can see like the American flag waving. It's very patriotic, but you can see the wind coming through these filters, and that's really important. And sometimes we also have some staff who keep their doors open just to get some increased ventilation as well. Hand hygiene. So I mentioned some videos. I'm just gonna tell you all right now. I made a mistake on one of them, and it has a little pop-up place, and it's on washing hands. So just make sure that that students are washing their hands before they come on campus. If they go to the restroom, by the way, I have a video on restroom. So if anyone's kind of nervous or worried about what the bathroom procedure is, that video is showing up tomorrow too. But the main thing on this slide is, when you can, wash your hands. It's the safest, it's the best thing for you to do. Proper mask wearing. So mask wearing, if I had thought ahead, I would have brought my mask so I could show you. I mean, it's right over there, but I don't want to run. Make sure it's covering the mouth and the nose. For middle schoolers, what's really, really important is that we really have to understand that it's not something to play around with, even jokingly. And I had to do that. That one was a tough one last year, where I had to tell a student, this is not a plaything. This is something that really is a marker of safety. And if you're not taking that seriously, then we need to have a larger conversation. So really make sure that as we're talking about the start of school and what the expectations are, and again, I have a video for this, that masks, proper mask wearing and respecting others with their masks, that's part of those expectations. Okay. Now let's see. Ms. Collins, is this yours or mine? I can't remember.
I'll jump on really quick. Hello again, good evening. Thank you for joining us. So we have to say thank you for your interest and offer, but schools are open to students and district staff only at this time, and our campuses are closed to non-school individuals, including family, community, and volunteers. We have a really convenient doorbell on our front office, so you can get service when you come to the main door, but we can't let you into this space for other health and safety reasons as well. So just knowing that our main entrance, if you have not been here, is off 208th Street Southwest, and it's by the flagpole out front. And we have a really open campus. So again, you would park in the lower lot and then walk up to the main office, but there are also 3 visitor spots out front as well. So the urgent needs, yes, you can come to the main office, but there is a doorbell to kind of make sure we have a chance to meet your needs at the door. And next, Mr. Figueroa. Or that's me, just kidding. Huh? Again, just knowing that we have a COVID-19 vaccine requirement for all school employees. However, it is available for individuals 12 and older. So most of our middle school students are 12 and older, and going to the Snohomish Health District website to learn more about the vaccine and how to book an appointment as well. Go ahead, Roberto.
Testing. I just got a test on Monday. They've changed it. I don't know if you've gotten a test recently. It's a lot better in my opinion. They used to like get all the way up there, but it's a lot easier. I did have to wait for like an hour though. A lot of cases popping up. So testing is one of the best ways that we can prevent the spread. So making sure that there is testing, and now that it's not so uncomfortable, it's just going to be something to keep in the toolbox. And I also think that there are some, I think Walgreens is starting to stock some rapid home tests as well. So we're gonna be hopefully stocking some of those pieces as well to make sure that if there is some sort of concern, that we've got the ability to address it right away.
And just to briefly mention, those who have a passion for the performing arts, yes, we have a chance to have students enroll in those certain classes for their wind instruments and choir as options. So we have safeguards in place to make sure there's really specific masks that students will wear either while they're singing or on the end of their, it's called a bell cover. So in terms of their instrument, they'll have something that's on the end of their instrument, also a really unique face mask that has an access for their wind instruments as well. We are following all COVID protocols from the Department of Health as well regarding the performing arts. Fall athletics, Mr. Figueroa.
Sports. Very excited that sports are back. So sports are one of the best ways to get involved in the school, and sports are on. They're on. So our fall sports are girls fast pitch softball, boys football, and my personal favorite, and I would really suggest this for anyone who's at all interested in athletics, cross country. I'm a runner. I love running. It's a great way to just get started. Your biggest competitor in cross country is yourself. You're challenging yourself to be a little bit better every single day. So in order to do fall athletics, make sure you're signing up on rank 1. You should be getting some emails about how to sign up. If you need any help with that, you email me or you call me and I will help you out. Make sure that there is a physical in the last couple of years. And again, if you have any questions about that, I will be happy to help. But check out the key fall dates, the sports options, the forms, and the eligibility at that link. All right, school bus. The buses are extension of the school. A lot of the same rules apply. Not all, but the big one is the mask. Make sure that you're wearing the mask when you're on the bus. Oh, and before you go, sorry, you should be able to get your bus information now. I do know that there might be some stuff still being, I just heard about my daughter's bus today. So there might be some things to work out. And if you're having any trouble with it, reach out to us and we'd be happy to help. All right, so there is a new app, a new way to check for bus information and track changes and updates. So take a look at this link below. It's just a really simplified way of getting this information. It's a great idea. So make sure if your student is taking the bus or you are taking the bus, that you take a look at that. Oh, before I go any further, Crawford had a great question. Can 7th graders play football? We're a small school. Yes. So usually if we don't have usually it's kind of a question about it, but we're going to say yes. So 7th graders, if you're interested in playing football, absolutely, we're going to go for it. All right, next one.
I'd like to introduce our student support advocate, Chantelle Buckingham. A student support advocate has so many resources that she's going to talk about probably some of the most valuable resources we'll have available this fall. Go ahead, Chantal.
Yeah, hi guys. So I am the student support advocate at College Place Middle School. If you had a family resource advocate in the elementary, we we do the similar work. So if you've worked with them with getting resources in the community, I'm your go-to person. I also help the counselors here at school to make sure that your student has everything you need to be successful. And so again, I'm in a good good communication with both counselors. And so if you need to reach out to me, my email, and information is found under the staff information on our website, or you definitely reach out to anyone who you see here, and they can definitely lead me to you guys. Anyways, I want to talk about some resources here. This year is kind of cool. Every student will be getting free lunch and breakfast. Sorry, free breakfast and lunch this whole school year. So you don't need to stress out on sending home lunches or yeah, no, never mind. Sorry. Yeah, if you could just fill out. If you don't need to stress about what you need to bring to school. I'm sorry. Okay, next. I do want to make it clear that even though the lunch and breakfast is free, we do like to have families fill out the free and reduced lunch form. Even though, again, the lunches are free, a lot of things can come from the support if you do qualify. For example, if you're looking for a community resource about like outside activities for your students, they do offer some free and reduced application like scholarships. So please fill out that form. And then here's how to get the application printed. You can call this number, or you can go and visit the district website and under financial support, and you can get that form filled out for you as well.
All right. Hi again. I'm Katie Johnson, the 7th grade school counselor, and I'm going to talk briefly about Skyward. So Skyward, if you're not familiar with it yet, it's one thing we'd like you to get familiar with. It's our system for families to access students' educational records and school information. On Skyward, you will find students' grades, in particular their final grades. We also use a program called Canvas that we'll talk to you about at a later time. And it's your family contact information. And we really, really encourage you to make sure your family contact information is up to date. And there's that bus route information on there. And as well as schedules that will be available tomorrow. And if you need any help accessing your Skyward account, there's information on our district website. You could call our main office and also technology support through the district if you need help accessing your account.
All right, so talked a little bit about going home because of COVID symptoms or things like that. So we have Canvas. Canvas is a great tool for our families and for our students. So if a student needs to quarantine or needs to be out for a long time, that's where you're going to basically take a look for assignments. You're going to take a look for any sort of information that the teacher might be posting. And it's also going to have contact information for the teacher. So if you have any questions about that, you can also you'll get more information about that as the first week goes on. And if you have some more information, if you need more information about the attendance policy, go ahead and click that link, and that'll be really, really helpful for you to understand exactly what it means to miss school and what we can do to make sure that students are getting caught up. Actually, there's one more point on that slide that I really want to talk about, and that is Department of Health has said that if we do have to close an entire classroom or school quarantine, we'll revert to remote learning. I'm working as hard as I can to make sure that that doesn't happen. Really want to make sure that all risk of transmission is as low as possible. So I'm really hoping that we don't have to go for that, and that's what I'm working for every single day. Okay, next slide. All right, so that being in mind, knowing that Canvas is so important, please make sure that students are carrying their Chromebooks to and from home each and every day. I think everyone's pretty familiar with this one-to-one district, just making sure we're keeping care of those Chromebooks and taking them from home to school. Okay.
So this opportunity, I'd like to just clarify a mistyped date and time. We will be repeating this message again, starting at 6:45. So I know there was a few open-ended questions in our question and answer feature. So again, we have an opportunity to answer questions right now, but we'll be going back to the beginning of our presentation, starting at 6:45. So we have about another 10 minutes to answer some questions that are popping up, and then just stay on and you'll see where you missed the first part of our presentation. It's just going to be repeated again. So I know some families have feeder pattern, meaning the elementary schools that come to College Place were at the same time as well. So we just try to make it work best for everybody's schedule. So again, thank you for your cooperation and understanding about that.
All right, I have a question from Solvin. How much homework is there at CPM? You know, that's something we're always monitoring. We're trying to make sure that it's not overwhelming. We're working with teachers, we're working with families, we're working with students, try to make sure that the homework is enhancing your learning, not stressing you out. That might mean that you have to reach out to some of us if it's not going that way. So be open and honest with your counselors, with your teachers, with me, and we'll try to work together to make sure that it's manageable for you. Will students need to bring a power supply to school for their Chromebook? Yeah, each Chromebook comes with its own power supply. You should keep that with it. However, please make sure that you are coming to school with your Chromebook charged. That is very, very important. If the first thing that you have to do is put in your charger, that can be tough. So please make sure that you're charging it overnight. So yeah, some mistyped pieces about the time start. We are going to restart this from the very beginning in about 10 minutes. So whatever you missed, don't worry. You're going to be able to hear it all. You're going to be able to hear it again. And I'll try to be as charming as I was. I had some really funny jokes. I'll try to remember them. I have already forgotten. So no, it'll be super serious. All right, let's see. So question about CPM shirt for gym. There actually isn't going to be gym shirts this year. Ms. Collins, do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so right now we're following our district's protocol. Students will not change right now. The locker rooms are closed due to how close in proximity our smaller locker room changing spaces are. So it will be in their best interest to make sure that students have something comfortable to do low activity, like they would be walking around in the hallways as well. So not the best for flip-flops or slides, as some students call them, or creasing their favorite shoes. I know a lot of our students don't want to crease, right, where your foot bends, right? So just being aware that we might be doing some walking on the track, and some low body exertion won't be very high, because students will still have their masks on as well.
All right, so there was one that I really wanted to answer. Let's see. Oh, what's the dress code? Someone asked, which is a great question. So if you Google Edmonds dress code, you will see our Edmonds dress code, and that's the same dress code for secondary. Now, what's really important for parents to know about this is the big no-nos, anything, of course, related to violence, drugs, or alcohol. That includes breweries. So that's something that is, some families don't realize that, you know, we have a favorite one and we've got our kid that can't show up on campus. And I will be asking students to take that off if they show up. So just keep that in mind, that, you know, even the stuff that doesn't seem like it, if it references that type of you know, if it references that, we just can't have that on campus. But yeah, Google Edmonds school dress code, and when I send out the student handbook, which you'll be getting shortly, there's a link to it in there too. Great question. Will we be shown around campus? Guess what? There's some time tomorrow to show up to campus, walk around. We're going to repaint a couple of things. We're going to put up a few more signs before school starts, but you'll see some of those things still up, and you'll be able to see how to get around campus. And putting a quick plug in, tomorrow, you'll also be getting videos from me. I made some videos just around our campus, talking about lunch, talking about bathrooms, talking about hallways, and that gives you a good look at our school if you can't make it tomorrow.
There's a question about how to hear the information that was presented right at 6 o'clock. We were repeating the same information again at 6:45. So just hang on the call for a minute, maybe grab yourself a glass of water, a cup of tea, and then come back to our presentation. We'll be repeating the exact same information at 6:45.
Oh, just switched on me. Let's see here. I am a new student. I've not returned my elementary Chromebook. Am I still able to use the same one, or do I need to get a new one? I believe use the same one. Yeah, just use the same one. Brenda has a good question. Will a student get a locker to store book and backpacks? No, we do not have lockers at CPM. So what we try to do is make sure that we're limiting the amount of stuff that students are carrying back home, which includes things like textbooks. So really what we try to do is not overload students, but keep in mind that that will be something that students might have some stuff in their backpacks. Chloe has a great question. Can you wear black? Yes. And anything that refers to bands, depends. It's got to be my favorite bands. I'm kidding. You can. Nobody's heard of the bands that I like, especially not middle schoolers. So, so yes, as long as it doesn't reference violence, drugs, or alcohol or things like that, yes, a band shirt is definitely good. So for right now, there is no locker room usage for PE. So like Ms. Collins said, what I said, what I'll be repeating a little bit is, we have lunches outside as well, lunch options outside. So it's a good idea to dress warmly and comfortably. And that includes things like, you might even want to just make sure you have a nice thick jacket that can come, or dress in layers. That might be best. What's the best place to drop off our students if we are driving them? So there are two areas, and I'm going to put a plug in for the lower parking lot. The upper parking lot, which is pretty small, 2 lanes one way, it can get backed up. We're going to try to work on it this year to have everyone pull forward. But if that doesn't work out, it would be really nice if parents could drop off at the bottom. You just got more space. Students walk up, they'll walk past the cafeteria, so that's where they'll be serving food. So yeah, that's my plug for pickup and drop off. Here. So let's see. I don't know if you can hear my guy crying. I think he got body slammed. So for people who weren't here, I've got a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I think if I go up there, it's going to be like a tornado just hit. Drop off and pick up. Yeah, we'll talk about that again. We have a picture that goes through it, so we'll make sure to do that.
I'd like to address the question about why are there no lockers. It's preparing you, so we're middle level, so we're going to prepare you to be very organized and having all of your information with you at all times, which leads into where you'll be going as high school as well. So it's being organized each day. You make your backpack or your book bag the night before, you put your items that you need in there every day, and then again, you have it ready for the next school day. Your Chromebook is essential for charging, so you can just leave it plugged in near a charger, perhaps in your bedroom, living room, downstairs, in the garage, wherever you keep your book bag. Make sure your computer is also plugged in and just in it, and then you just take it out of the wall and put the charger in your backpack before you leave for the school day.
I just want to do a quick schedule plug again before we switch gears into restarting the presentation and I sign off. There's been a few questions about when do I get to see my classes, my schedule. And again, schedules will be available on Skyward tomorrow by noon. You're also able to get a printed out copy of your tentative schedule, your draft schedule, during the self-guided tours tomorrow. And then all students will receive a copy of their final schedule because things still change between now and when school starts on the first day of school. We have posters out that has lists of everyone's name and where their first period is. You go to your first period and you'll get a copy of your final schedule.
So I'd like to thank the families and students who joined us and were here from 6 o'clock. We will be restarting our presentation again with our same interpreters in a minute. So you'll see the slide switch back from thanking you for joining us. If you have any questions and answers, we're here to answer them. We're really excited to start the school year. I'm super happy. I'm looking forward to it. It's my favorite time of year. I'm thankful for the families and students who attended this beginning of phone call. And then we'll get at 6:45, we'll transition. So I'll switch the slides back in just a minute. So feel free to sign off or stay and maybe you missed something. This is also being recorded, so you'll have a chance for reviewing it again. And Mr. Figueroa is sending out super specific and amazing videos tomorrow in your inbox. So look for those as well on really unique particular pathways, how you get from one part of the building to another part of the building, expectations, and any other unanswered questions you might have will be pretty accessible in the videos we have to send out tomorrow. So again, thank you. And we will begin again from the top at 6:45. So we'll take a 1-minute break. Thank you, everybody.
And in that 1-minute break, there are a couple of questions I do want to answer. David, you asked about cell phones. It's one of my videos. Big thing though is we want them off and away throughout the day. If there's an emergency, talk to a staff member. We know that, you know, if someone's sick and you need to be kept in the loop, just talk to someone. And I know that in my years, if someone has said to me, hey, Mr. Figueroa, I got to check something, that's totally fine. But for the most part, it needs to be off and away. What we will need for the first day, bring your backpack. If you have your Chromebook, bring that as well. And then just, you know, a flexible attitude, thinking about what you're going to do through the day, and just be present. Just be present. I know for some people it's been a long time since you've been back on campus, but you know, happy to have you, and I think it's going to be a good year. I think. If a student gets COVID, will we be notified? So if there was a risk of transmission because of close contact, we do have a protocol for that. So while it might not be the name of the student that you're getting informed about, we will make sure to communicate as much as possible if there is something that translates into a risk. How many classes will we have? 6. Do we leave our supplies at school or take them home? Take them home. And some of these are going to be answered. Some of these are going to be answered right now, in fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a Q&A from the 7th grade orientation. So right now we are going to start 8th grade. And if we miss any questions, boom, we're heading back to the questions. So yep, here we go.
Hello and welcome again, or if you joined us intermittently from your other elementary, same time frame, same place, went from one Zoom to another Zoom. Hello and welcome. My name is Andrea Collins, principal at College Space Middle School. Really happy to have you here this evening. Thank you for working with us and through these different challenges. I believe there was an email with a typo. So today we have interpretation in Español. Si tiene información en Español, tenemos una mujer aquí, se llama Patty. Somos bilingües en nuestra oficina. So again, we are bilingual in our office here. Myself, Mr. Figueroa, and our attendance secretary all speak Spanish. And we also have Arabic interpretation as well. So if you need a minute to link into that button, go ahead and do that. Okay, great. So this evening, we're going to talk about how this is available as a recording, as well as a land acknowledgement, school nuts and bolts and information, a day in the life of your student, as well as COVID health and safety protocols, and time for questions at the end. I'd like to start with our land acknowledgement. So we acknowledge the original inhabitants of this place, the Snohomish people, and their successors, the Tulalip tribes, who since time immemorial have taken care of, hunted, fished, and gathered on these lands. We respect the sovereignty, their right to self-determination, and we honor their sacred spiritual connection with the land and water. By acknowledging these homelands, we commit to working with tribal nations to further the educational aims they have identified in our classrooms and schools. So again, welcome. This evening, you'll get a chance to hear from myself as your principal, from our amazing assistant principal, our grade level counselor, And again, our student support advocate is here as well. Our list of emails are on the screen for you to send us a quick email, maybe introduce yourself, or just if you have questions that come up and you forget, go ahead and send us an email and we'll respond as soon as we are able. So I will let you meet Miss Nanas. Go ahead, Naomi.
Hello, everybody. I had to log off and then log back on quick because I didn't have audio. So, we're off to a strong start. I'm really excited to see all the 8th graders that are coming back to CPM, some 8th graders that I may have not had the opportunity to see and meet in person quite yet last year, or if you're new to CPM, welcome. My name's Naomi Nanas. I'm the 8th grade counselor. I'll also be working with Riley Smithgall this year. She may be on here as well to say hi, or she might be listening in, but some of you may remember Miss Smithgall from last year. She interned with our counseling department, and so she's going to be at CPM with us again this year, helping out a few days a week. Just wanted to touch really briefly on how counselors support students at CPM. We meet with students one-on-one to kind of support with all types of needs. And we're just excited to be part of your students' team and your family's team. También hablo español, so por favor, si tienen preguntas en español o necesitan alguien que hable en español durante el año, me pueden llamar.
Just a quick introduction to our awesome support counselor. She's going to be helping Miss Nanas in the fall and Miss Johnson in November. So just want to give an opportunity for you to have a face and a name, and Miss Riley Smithgall. Riley, want to say hello really quick to our audience?
Yes, hello. I know I'm also figuring out this whole Zoom thing, but it's so great to be back with the College Place community, and I'm excited to see you all again this year.
Awesome, thank you. So just to, Ms. Nanas, I was also multitasking, so full disclosure, draft schedules will be available tomorrow. I don't know if you mentioned that, Ms. Nanas, so you can.
That is correct. So 8th graders, some of you have been emailing me asking for your schedules. I know everyone's antsy to look at them. Tomorrow, you should be able to see them on Skyward. Please know and remember that the schedules that are out tomorrow, we hope there won't be many changes from them, but there can be changes. So it's just really important that you know that it's still a draft until the very first day of school, okay?
Which, on that topic of the first day of school, as you hopefully have marked on your calendar, is September 8th. So you have almost another 7 or 8 days of maybe making a routine for yourself and saying, oh my gosh, yes, I have to catch my bus at 7:12, so I need to be at the bus stop, and how do I get ready, and oh my goodness, and I have to make my lunch, or maybe not, and make sure I have my Chromebook. So again, school starts September 8th, and even there'll be, as Ms. Anna mentioned, fluctuations, meaning things could change throughout scheduling up until like almost the second week of school. So just be prepared for that as well, okay? And if you have younger siblings or maybe a neighbor and you're realizing they don't start school until later, which is true, kindergartners don't start until Monday the 13th of September. And usually families that are listening in, and students as well, there's typically 1 to 2 Fridays a month that are either a half day or a non-attendance day when staff and teachers have grade and job-like meetings to attend. So just be prepared for that in terms of looking either ahead for those days, or maybe it's just a mental health day for yourself as well, and just realizing you can kind of take a breath but still be an active student that day as well. How you can get information around our teachers is we have a really interactive staff directory on our homepage. All of our websites district-wide have been re-networked, and the pages are accessible for you to just click on that staff member's name. Maybe if you don't know their email, because everyone's email is unique. Typically it's their last name and their first initial of their first name, possibly with a number, but with that really classic @edmonds.wednet.edu end of the email address. So just being aware that not everyone has the same format for their unique email address. Now you get to meet Mr. Figueroa, our assistant principal.
Hi, everyone. You remember me from a ton of emails, from maybe a couple of videos that I put out last year. 7th grade families, of course, you're going to get to know me. through some videos as well. So I'm here to start off to talk about the day in the life of your student. And I want to say, first of all, thank you for being with us. Really, really appreciate it. If you hear a rumbling sound, that's my cat trying to get through the door just as hard as possible. I think she's got a battering ram, and I can see it moving right now. It's like a horror movie, but she's not getting in here because I need to concentrate. So, day in the life of your students. What's really cool is I put together a series of videos to talk about what a day in the life will look like at CPM. And what is really a connecting thread through all of those is that we are working very, very hard to make things as safe as possible, not just for the student, but for the families as well. And to do that, we want to make sure that we're taking our precautions throughout our day. So I want to start off by talking about three things: the drop-off zone, classroom, and then lunch. So your drop-off zone, we have two areas. We have an upper parking lot and a lower parking lot. The upper parking lot is smaller. It's right outside the office. If you're going to drop off your student there, I will ask you, you just pull up all the way. If you were to zoom in on this picture, you'd see our Dean of students waving in the background. But I'd like you to pull all the way up there, because if you don't, things get backed up to the street pretty bad. So pull up all the way in that right-hand lane. And I will also just kind of put out a plug to, if you're going to drop off students, maybe drop them off at the lower parking lot. That's also right by our cafeteria, our commons, so they can grab a bite to eat on their way in. By the way, all food, lunches, and breakfast free. So keep that in the back pocket. If students are walking in, they didn't have time to grab lunch, they can always grab lunch. Classrooms. So we've done a lot of work in making sure that our classrooms are as safe as possible. Department of Health guidance is 3 feet as much as possible distance between students, and we're trying to make that happen. We make sure that we have students gel in and gel out, use hand sanitizer as they come in. You're going to see from the videos that we are really, really promoting safe mask usage. All students are going to be required to wear their masks at all times. And we also make sure that all the classrooms have students facing the same way. We also have, and you'll see a slide on this later, air systems that are going just as much as possible on the highest strength. So if you walk into a classroom, you might even see like the flag waving. It's very patriotic, the American flag waving in this breeze created by this air flowing through, but that's to make sure that the airflow is there. And finally, our lunchroom. Another plug. This is my longest video that I did was about lunches, because I know that that's kind of the question on everybody's mind. And I actually have still one more to do, because I changed things up to make things even more safer. I thought to myself, how can we make an indoor space just as safe as possible? Quick thing to note about our lunches is that we're going to have 3 spaces, an inside and then 2 outside spaces. And I love that. We have an outdoorish school. So I'm really, really asking families and students to try to eat outside. And a lot of students do that naturally, and they just want to eat outside. But that means for parents to just make sure the students have nice warm coats. And if you need any assistance with that, Ms. Chantal is really, really willing to help out securing those resources. So it doesn't look homey, it doesn't look, comfortable, but with masks off inside while you're eating, I'm setting up 6-foot boxes that are 6 feet apart where students can eat inside of. They might have to, if they're more comfortable sitting on the ground, that's fine. We're going to have chairs set up for students. We also, in the back, we have these risers where there is a table for students to put their stuff on. This is something that Shoreline School District, Seattle Public School District is doing as well. So again, not the most comfortable looking, but as safe as possible. And again, there will be videos talking about each one of these things coming to your inbox tomorrow. So health and safety, question on everybody's mind. So first of all, last year for 8th graders who were listening, like I thought our 8th grade or our students last year did a great job wearing masks. I thought that was I remember having to talk to a person once about making sure the mask covered the entire face, and just making sure that no one was getting close to other people, not creating a joke about it. Masks are really important. Like I said, we're an outdoor school, so there's a temptation to take it off when you're outside, but we have some tight corners. And if you're coming around a corner and your mask's off, that's not safe. So if you need to take your mask off, you're talking to someone for a quick break outside somewhere far away from anyone where you're not able to run into anyone. But for the most part, these masks need to stay on. Physical distancing. This is the one that we kind of needed to work on throughout the year. It's middle school. You know, you've got some rough housing, you've got PDA, you know, the displays of affection. Cannot have that this year. And it's tough for some students because they get security through some physical interaction. But we cannot have that contact, and it's tough. It's tough having that conversation with students of saying, even with your best friend that you've known for a long time, you really need to maintain social distancing. Before you come into the building, make sure you're thinking about COVID symptoms, and make sure that you're staying home when you're sick, and that's an important part right there, because not just because of COVID, but a cold or a flu, any sort of transmissible sickness or disease, if it spreads, there are going to be people who don't know, is this COVID, is this not? So we're really going to try to limit the amount of just any sort of sickness in our building, and really ask that if someone's feeling sick, that they stay home. And parents, this is kind of a tough thing to hear too, is we had a couple of situations last year where students came to school, said that they felt sick to a staff member, and we have to follow up on that. And that usually involves a phone call home, and in cases being sent home. So to just keep that in the back of your mind, to always keep that dialogue with your students about how you're feeling that day. It's just the safest way of making sure that a student is showing up healthy. There is a COVID-19 handbook put out by the district. It's a great resource, if not big, which is great. We want detail. We want knowledge about how we're handling this. So click on that link when you get a chance, when you get these slides. You'll be able to see what the handbook looks like. And if you need any help with trying to understand the reasoning behind anything, reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk about it. And it will be updated throughout the year. So, you know, even in the last 3 weeks, we've seen some shifts. So just keep that bookmarked, keep revisiting it, and make sure that if there are any changes, that you're reaching out to us if you have any questions about it. So a little change from last year, 8th graders, we're not doing the attestation in the morning. So what that means is it is more important than ever that you're doing that checking at home. And that's really the issue there. We're asking that, and I'm about to go over the symptoms one more time. I know you've probably heard it a bunch, but there's going to be things that we repeat a lot this year. Make sure that you're looking at these symptoms and making sure that if a student is experiencing any of them, that they're not coming to school. And the staff do the same thing too, you know, and it's something that I have just needed to get better at it. I've been that guy who shows up in the past, you know, before the virus happened, you know, have something, oh, I'm just going to power through. Can't do that anymore. And so parents, that actually might affect the way that we communicate. I might be unavailable for longer than I'm used to. But for staff, it's important as well. So what you might see more substitutes this year. You might see more work being pushed out online through our Canvas, because someone might be showing symptoms, not necessarily because of COVID, but just any sort of sickness. So here are the symptoms to be on the lookout for. Fever, of course, that's the big one. If anyone's showing a fever, boom, you do not send them to school. Cough, for those with, you know, chronic allergic or asthmatic cough. That's kind of like ongoing coughs. If there's a change in their cough from the baseline, so if you always have kind of like a dry cough because of allergies or asthma, if that increases suddenly, that's your like, oh, okay, I need to stay home, or I need to contact someone about this. Shortness of breath or difficulty breathing, chills, unusual fatigue, muscle and body aches. New onset of a headache, sore throat, some loss of taste or smell, that's a really big one. Congestion or runny nose, again, unrelated to seasonal allergies. Allergies is a tough one, because you might have a student not feeling well and then having to make that determination. Is this a symptom that I need to stay home for, or is this part of something that I've always had? And what I would do in those situations, reach out to our school nurse. We'll be making sure to make that contact information available. Reach out to our school nurse, Miss Lisa Link, who is amazing, and she is great. and she is perfectly willing to walk families through that determination. Nausea or vomiting and diarrhea, of course. So we have what I consider just one of the best custodial staffs in the world. Natalie, she's our head custodian. She actually gave me some tomatoes the other day. They're amazing. I didn't know she was a gardener. She's got all these talents that I had no idea about, but I literally had it on my burger the other night. And she said she's gonna get me more, so I'm super excited. But we do a lot of cleaning and making sure that everything is disinfected, especially those spaces with more aerosols or body fluids. And so our campus is really, really clean, thanks to Natalie and our team. We've got these HVAC systems that basically push air through our school classrooms. Like I said earlier, if you're just standing in there, you can actually see the wind, the air coming through. And that's really helpful in making sure that that air doesn't linger inside. Of course, we're all wearing masks, so we're all containing it, but that is an extra step that we're taking to make sure that everyone is as safe as possible. Hand hygiene. So quick mention of my video, I actually made a mistake in my hand hygiene part. I said the amount of time to wash your hand at 40 seconds instead of 20 seconds. But make sure, hand washing is one of the best ways that we can limit transition. So I'm going to ask that students before they leave their home, wash hands. And then throughout their day, if they're going to the bathroom. Oh, by the way, bathrooms, that's another video that I've got for you. So for any students who are like, oh wait, how do bathrooms work again? One of those videos will talk about it. But if you're going to the bathroom, really making sure that you get a good hand wash in there. Proper mask wearing. Like I said, masks required both inside and outside. Again, one of my videos really goes into the specifics about that. It's really, really important for safety. And I have a video on expectations and what happens if a student isn't following expectations. And I make the point that, we have kind of different levels of it. Behavior that impacts that student's learning, behavior that impacts the learning of others. And there's a third layer, kind of a deeper layer, safety. Proper mask wearing goes to safety. Like that's where it goes to me. That's keeping students safe, it's keeping adults safe. So that's a big one for me. Before you go, this is a really important question that I really want to make sure I answer. I know it's out of order, but there was a question about, if a student tests positive, and I just want to make sure I talk about that. So we follow the Department of Health guidelines, and we follow the guidelines of our Nurses Association in the Edmond School District. And one thing we want to make sure is we preserve the privacy of anyone who has tested positive, and we look at contact tracing. So if there is the need for contact tracing, people will reach out. So in that case, no news is good news. And the other thing too, and this is something that happened last year, if a student leaves because of symptoms, that doesn't automatically mean that they have the virus. And that was, middle school is a rumor mill. It just keeps going sometimes. So trust us, if there is a case in which someone needs to be notified, we will notify, because it's not just our school, it's the Department of Health has really strict guidelines on that. So great question. And I just wanted to answer that straight away because I know that's on everybody's mind. All right, Principal Collins, go for it.
So thank you. Good evening again. So wanted to, it's hard for me to say because I love having your expertise in our schools as volunteers or just being an active participant. However, schools are only open to students and district staff right now. Our campuses are closed to non-school individuals, which includes families and community volunteers, which is really hard because I know there's passionate people out there who want to be really involved in your student's life. Conveniently though, on our we're a north-south campus in terms of our directional. So on the south side of our campus is where the flagpole is, and that's the main office. And it does read main office on our identifier for our welcome sign. And there's a doorbell on our front door. So we will have that threshold. You will be met to have your needs met in terms of dropping off, I think I see something, dropping off a Chromebook, or your student forgot their essay or their instrument, or whatever those needs are that need to be met. We will meet you at the door, but we won't be able to let you into our main office unless it's a real urgent matter. So just kind of wanted to let you all hear that same message from me, knowing that I am also a really sociable person, and it's going to be hard for me not to want to give you a side hug or a hello and all that good stuff. So just knowing that if you have other capacities that you'd like to contribute to, just send me an email and we can be creative about how we can incorporate your interest in supporting some of our student needs. Additionally, wanted to let you all know that as per requirement with Governor Inslee, there is that mandate that all K-12, meaning kindergarten through 12th grade, actually goes up to age 21. Students who need to be fully, students, yes, and staff all need to be vaccinated. So that is by mid-October. So just knowing that you're aware of that too, that the adults that are in the presence of your student will be fully vaccinated. We're going, just if you have any more questions about that, feel free to reach out to the Snohomish Health District in terms of if your student is the age of 12 and you are considering doing that, go ahead and make that a family choice and learn more about it. Okay, COVID testing, is that me too? Or is that you?
Nope, that was me.
Roberto? Okay,
Yeah,
thank you, Roberto.
Really great questions coming in the Q&A. I've marked some of them, answer live. We'll handle them at the very end. So COVID-19 testing, I actually got a test on Monday. They've changed them up a little bit. They used to really get up in there for adults, but they've changed it a little bit so that it's a lot less invasive, but still really accurate. So, testing students and staff, and I've had the vaccine, but it's still important to me that if I'm showing any sort of symptoms, that boom, we get that test going. We also know that there are tests at, I think, Walgreens and Bartell's and things like that, that are good to have, and we're going to be able to have some testing as well. And that's one of the best ways that we can mitigate the spread of this disease. And so just know that in those cases, we have that capacity to do that testing.
Sorry, jumping back and forth, I apologize. We have a really innovative way to have your students still access their passion of either singing in the choir class, or if they're playing a wind instrument, meaning maybe a trumpet or a saxophone, oboe, clarinet, things like that, that they'll have a special mask provided for them that's for playing. So they'll have it on their face with a kind of like a slit in it, like a little hole for their instrument to reach their mouth, and then also a bell cover, which is where it'll go over the end of their instrument for our concert band and things like that. And then for our choir students, they'll also have another face covering that will be able to sing safely as well. So we're following all DOH and COVID-19 health and safety regarding our performing arts. Mr. Figueroa.
All right, sports. Very, very excited that we're having sports this year again. It's one of the best ways to get students involved and active in school. So the big thing to do is to make sure you go to the link and take a look at fall days, the sports options, the form and this eligibility. We'll need a physical done in the last 2 years from a doctor, a copy of that, and then the rank 1 signups. And I can tell you right now that our fall sports are football, which is for 7th and 8th grade boys. And then we have a fast pitch girls softball. And then my personal favorite, I'm going to put in a quick plug for this, cross country. I'm a runner myself, and I think it's just a great sport. It's a no-cut sport. So if you show up to try out, you're in. And what I love about it is that cross country is such a sport where your biggest challenger is yourself. You're just challenging yourself to be better every single time that you run. And it's also a great way if you want to do other sports like soccer later on, or wrestling, or volleyball or basketball. It's a great way to get in shape. It's the same ideals of sportsmanship and exercise. So I really want to put a plug in there to, if you're interested at all, go out for cross country. Mr. Visser, if you had him last year, he's going to be our cross country coach. He's awesome. I am so happy that he's coming back. He's not at our school. He's working at the high school, but he's coming back to be our track or our cross country coach. So if you're not interested in cross country, but you remember Mr. Visser, do cross country because you'll love it. School bus information. So this was a question in the Q&A as well, just about bus information and what sort of things are going on there. So school buses are extensions of the schools. So a lot of the rules that I'm talking about extend to the school bus as well. So that's wearing a mask, windows are going to be open. And, you know, for parents, again, this kind of comes back to dressing warmly at school. We're really going to emphasize students being eating lunch outside and being outside, and the school bus is probably going to be colder as well. So making sure that students have warm clothes, layers. And if you need help with that, Miss Buckingham, you're going to hear from her in a little bit. She can support you with those sorts of resources. And then some route information will be available starting this week, not this week, last week. But the best way to access that information, because things are still kind of in flux, they're still working on the routes, is that there is a new parent portal app. And it's a really great and simplified way to get bus route information and to see what kind of changes they're making in real time. So if you have a student riding the bus, I would 100% suggest that you make sure that you get this app so you can make sure that you have the most up-to-date information.
Now I have the opportunity to introduce our student support advocate, Miss Chantal Buckingham, to talk about our meal options and all the different applications you can access.
Hi guys, I just want to quickly just say hello, and my position at College Place is a student support advocate, where I can help families find different resources in the community. I work really well with the counselors here and teachers, and referrals can come from them, or you can definitely reach out to me by email or phone. I quickly wanted to talk to you about the free breakfast and lunch for this year. It's going to continue like it was last year. So this year, you don't need to stress about what to pay or pack for school meals. So that's nice. And then we do, even though the meals are free, we do still recommend families fill out the free and reduced lunch form. This can be another great resource if you qualify, as you know, it can apply to community scholarships if you're looking for programs, as well. If we do have a pandemic EBT, you will need to qualify for free and reduced. So instead of rushing to see if you do qualify, just fill out the form in the beginning of the year to do so. And to find the forms, you guys can go to the district website under financial support, or if you need to print the application out, you can call the district number listed there. If you need help with any of this about getting the forms or questioning of filling out the forms, or if you are in need of resources, please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.
So just a transition to Ms. Nanas again to talk about the importance of Skyward.
And actually,
Oh,
I'm
good,
going
Ms.
to
Riley. Go ahead,
take
Riley.
over for Miss Nanas on this one. So Skyward is our online access system to all of your students' educational records and school information. And so we just really encourage all families to get familiar with Skyward as the school year begins, as you'll find student grades on this, family contact information, bus route information, and a lot more. So you've probably heard the word Skyward many times, so just kind of get familiar with that as the school year begins.
I believe Mr. Figueroa would like to do a few live questions in response and then talk about the learning plan for our students.
Yeah. Let me just catch up on a couple of these Q&A great questions. By the way, hi, McKenna. First student that I've recognized their name. Very, very excited. Oh, it makes me so pumped for this year. So a couple of questions about the dress code. Yes, we do have a dress code, and it'll come out in the student handbook, the link to it. We follow the Edmond School District dress code for secondary schools. And the big one that I have to address most often is our images associated with violence, drugs, and alcohol. Now, families, some of those are really self-evident, some of them are not. So for example, breweries, that is promoting alcohol. So it is not something that we can allow students to wear. That's something that happened last year. You know, we live in a big area where some families actually have their own brewing companies, but we can't have that at school. So that's the big plug I'll put in there for our dress code. Then there's a great question from Diana about what are the guidelines when kids are late to school. So I do a lot of attendance and a lot of tardy work. So one, really want to make sure that students are getting to school on time. It is so important to start their day off right, and to make sure that they're here on time. And let's start here. If a student is late and it's not their fault, if it's the parent's fault or an older brother or something, you can always call the office, the attendance line, and excuse the tardy if it was your fault. And I actually prefer, if that's what's happened, that we can do that, because we do have a pretty strict tardy policy. After the first one, which is a talk from Mr. Jaimez, our Dean of Students, it starts going to consequences pretty quickly. And that's because it's so important to us to make sure that students are getting to school and to class on time. So really make sure that students are getting to school on time. If for some reason they're not, and it's not their fault, let us know and we can excuse that tardy and maybe even work with you or whoever else to get the student there on time. So a larger answer to that question maybe you're expecting, but that is super important to me. So great question. I'm really glad that you asked that. So I'm going to go into this slide and we'll come back to these questions in a little bit. So the learning plan. So I mentioned earlier just how difficult it might be this year, not just because of the virus, but of a cold or a fever or a flu, and you need to stay home. We are going to have Canvas, which is same as last year, where we're able to help to put a lot of information and resources from teachers for students. So please, if a student needs to stay home, make sure that they're checking their assignments online. And because of Canvas, they have a really easy way to communicate with their teacher. Make sure that they're using the email function and communicate to the teacher, what should I be doing? If you need more information about that policy, you can always check the attendance policy from the district's website. And here's the tough part, just said straightforwardly. If the Department of Health asks us to have an entire school or the school quarantine, we'll go remote. We are working really hard to not have that happen. That's really important to me, because it's not just about closing down the school, it's about safety, it's about the health of our families and our students. So we are working really hard that we don't have to do that. We want students coming in person and staying in person this entire year. And that's what we're working tirelessly for. Okay, next slide. Oh, so because of that, because you never know when a symptom is going to pop up, make sure that the students got the Chromebook every single day. It's coming to school, it's going from school. They've got the charger cord. Quick plug here. Make sure that they have charged it before they get to school. That's really important. It's always tough to start the day with an uncharged Chromebook. Kind of misses on a few things. So yeah, just make sure that the students are having their Chromebooks at all times.
So now we'll have a chance to answer some of your questions either in the chat or through the next 10 minutes. We'll be saying thank you to our interpreters at 7:30, as they will be ending the call at 7:30. So just a time frame for everybody in the next 9 minutes. If we don't get to your questions, we'll make sure to have an opportunity for you to get those answers as soon as possible. I'd like to answer this question about a campus map on the school website. No, however, we can, if you're able to join us tomorrow, we have self-guided tours where you'll be given a physical paper copy of the map and then your schedule on the reverse side. So that's really helpful. I'm pretty excited. I just checked the data. We have 150 families signed up to come intermittently through the different time slots tomorrow. I'm happy to share that we have time slots, if they haven't filled up all the way, but between 1 and 2:30 tomorrow, and then again from 5:30 to 7 p.m. So if you look outside your window right now, it's still pretty light out. So just knowing that it'll be safe and secure, but you'll still have a chance to view the campus tomorrow and walk the specific walking routes that we have as well.
All right, we have a question sobre clases especiales como ordenación y matemáticas. Sí, podemos ayudar, pero necesitamos specifics, how do you say it?
Específicas.
Específicas de estudiante. Si usted quiere contactar a nosotros, podemos ayudar con cualquier pregunta que tiene usted. Let's see. Will there be any special club precaution? Great question. So clubs will be an extension of the school. So whatever precautions we're taking at school, it'll be expected at the clubs as well, especially if it's indoors. So that means social distancing. It means facing the same way. It means mask wearing. If it's outside, still it's going to be mask wearing, social distancing, and not facing the same way because you're moving. But those considerations still exist. So yeah, great question here from Katrina. If a student has to quarantine, will they have access to live Zoom classes? Unfortunately not. It'll just be check campus for assignments. I'll be working with our staff to make sure that if a student has to quarantine for a long time, what that can look like to make sure that they don't feel so overwhelmed coming back. It's something that I'll be honest, it's something that we're still working with and still grappling with as a system. The most important thing is going to be us communicating and working with each other. We're a team, you and us and the students. So if there's a quarantine situation and the student's feeling overwhelmed of, I don't know how to get back into school with all these assignments, Miss Nanas is happy to help. I'm happy to help. Miss Miskal is happy to help. We'll work it out some way. Great question from Denise. Where to buy a gym shirt? So gym shirt, we're not, no gym shirts this year. And Ms. Collins, you can probably talk a little bit more about that. And then cell phone policy, that's one of the videos that I'll be putting out tomorrow to talk about the cell phone policy. Quickly though, no, we do not want cell phones out and being used during school. So what that means is it's off and away as much as possible. No, we know that right now things there's a lot of considerations about that. And what I would say is that there's something going on in a student's life where they need access to that cell phone or they need to check some sort of message, that they talk to an adult, they talk to a staff member. This is gonna be my 4th year, so my 3 years, if a student has come up to me and said, hey, Mr. Figueroa, I just really need to check my phone, I've always said yes, because they usually do it just right there and then boom, it's away. But limiting the amount of cell phones on campus has really helped decrease bullying. It's really helped improve learning. So it's something that we do stick by. Question from Yoko. Hi, Yoko. If sick, can student attend class online? No, there's not going to be concurrent classes going on. Like I said, it's going to be kind of working with the teacher about how to get that student back into the rhythm of school. And then Canvas will have some information about what's going on through those days that they've missed. And then Chantal, I think you had something to say. No? Okay. Let's see. Will there be any in-school events? I wish, I hope. I'm not saying no, but our big concern right now is getting students safely back into school. As much as we can, we're going to try to do some stuff that's engaging and fun for students. I don't know what that is right now, but I'm going to try my hardest to get to that point.
I can answer the Chromebook extra charger. We'll have, if you're familiar with the electric car charging stations around some different shopping centers and whatnot, there are available charging docking stations is what we're calling them, that students can get a quick rapid charge if they forget. But the best advice I have is also being a parent to a student is to make sure their book bag is next to a charging electrical outlet in your home somewhere so that they can just have it next to the charger overnight so it can charge, and then the next morning pull it out of the wall, put it in their bag and go to school. So at least that's a protocol or routine that I've established with my 2 students as well. Totally understand the parent lens right now. It's a lot and I understand that. So a quick time check. We have 3 minutes remaining in terms of our access to our interpreters and their schedules and honoring their time as well. So just a thank you to the people who have been here from 6 o'clock. We did start with a one session then and now continuing our repeated session now, which if you're just tuning in now, this will be available as a recorded session that will be emailed to our contacts in Skyward for Family One, along with the presentation, all of the amazing videos Mr. Figueroa will be sending out as well.
Okay, going down this Q&A, make sure I get as much of these as possible. If unable to make it to school one day, but able to do remote learning, is that possible to do? Unfortunately not, we're not having a remote option. So it's an absence and then checking what's on Canvas. What about different events at school, like events or to show off different cultures? Again, I hope we can do it. I want to, we'll work on it. We'll see what we can do. That's all I can say right now. I don't have any specifics. How can we get into Canvas in case some of us have forgotten? Guess what? We have this great strong start that we're doing this year. So we're going to be covering a lot of information for our students about things like Canvas, social emotional health, self-care, mental care, how to do school, how to be organized, how to be resilient. So a lot of great stuff in the first few days. So don't worry with that. We're going to help you out. Hi, Training. Will it be in person all the way through school year or like half online and half in person? Training, I'm going to work as hard as I can. We are going to work as hard as we can to make it in person the whole year. Of course, it's not up to us. It's up to the Department of Health. It's up to all these different organizations. But we're going to work really hard on keeping everyone safe. And I hope that you can work with us about making it safe too. And I know you can. How do I log into Skyward? If it's not working, reach out, email one of us. We might have to help you out more one-on-one. How do you sign up for the self-guided campus tours? Ms. Collins, I believe this was sent out in an email, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Outside dance party from Leah. Yes, fantastic. There we go. It's an outdoor music festival. We're going to call it Sasquatch. Sasquatch stopped a little while ago, so we're going to be the new. No new Sasquatch. Okay, no. Principal Collins is saying no. Oh, here's my favorite question of the night. Any advice for anxious 7th graders on how to cope with this year? First of all, to recognize that that is something that we're all feeling. We're all feeling anxiety. We're all feeling nervousness. But know that we're working on this together. And it's not just one thing that I think all of us are feeling nervous about. Some of us are feeling nervous about safety. Some of us are feeling nervous about just academics. Some of us are feeling nervous about being around other people. It's natural. And the best thing to do is to rely on those people who are close to you. And then when you come to us, we're going to be the ones who will help you too. We have an amazing counseling staff. We have an amazing staff in general. We're here to help. The best thing that you can do is communicate. Tell us what you're feeling, what you need, and that's what we're going to do to help you out. That was my favorite question. Maybe a little emotional because that's what I want to make sure. I want to make sure you know too. I'm feeling that way too. But I'm also optimistic. Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to kind of follow up too, because as you were speaking, I was typing out an answer to, I think, a student. I'm assuming I get the sense there are a lot of students on here, which is awesome. And the question was just about whether or not there was a lot of bullying at CPM. And my response was just that I hope that it doesn't feel like that to students. From my perspective, as someone who talks to a lot of students, I think it feels like a really welcoming, safe, fun place to be for the most part. However, it's middle school and there are sometimes conflicts and drama and new social things that come up, and sometimes incidents of bullying. And so I think the important thing for students to hear and families to hear too, but I'm really speaking directly to the students, if something's going on that doesn't feel good, like find someone to talk to. And I welcome you to have it be me, but it doesn't have to be me. It can be that teacher that you're vibing with. It can be Mr. Figueroa. It can be a paraeducator in your class that you're getting to know and working with, whoever feels safe and okay to open up and just let them know what's going on.
So I want to answer this question here from Patricia. How to cope with any form of bullying while being a person of color. So first and foremost, don't cope with it. Don't accept it. Tell us, communicate. We will be there. Bullying is unacceptable. And you know what Ms. Nanas was saying, that we really take care to talk to people and to be there and to make sure that students are feeling safe. And so if you're not feeling that way or your student's not feeling that way, I want to know about it. I personally want to know about it, but our team wants to know about it. So I want to thank you for asking that question, because it's a hard question to ask, but it's important. We're not perfect. We can't get it perfect every single time. And that's the cold reality of it. It's middle school. Kids get, they see stuff that's on TikTok and they think it's cool to do to other people. And we have to talk to them. We have to set it right. Because in a lot of cases, honestly, it comes down to a misunderstanding of how that other person was feeling. And this is where I appreciate our counseling staff so much. So much of their work against bullying has to do with building empathy and building a student's capacity to recognize feelings in others. And that's why, I probably haven't told them enough. Just like, I can't imagine working with a better team about it, because they just do an amazing job. They do an amazing job. So yeah, that's how we're going to keep working on it. We're going to keep working on it and try to eliminate it as much as possible.
So in the interest of time, we just have about 2 minutes left. I know there's some unanswered questions. However, I'm seeing some of the patterns of either broken links or inaccessible links, either for Canvas or Skyward. So we will address those again. And most likely your student will be your best resource, because they've probably memorized a possible link or pathway that's bookmarked on their Chromebook. So again, a lot of the access can come through already preloaded bookmarks on your student's Chromebook to access either Canvas or Skyward. And again, just want to say thank you so much. We're really looking forward to it. I'm so excited. Having an opportunity to see familiar names and family names on our attendees tonight. Just really thankful for your time. Thank that you're able to be here, and just want to say again, we appreciate you, and we look forward to being strong communicators and how we can meet the needs of your family and your student this year. So 1 more minute. Anyone else? Go ahead, Roberto, and then we can all say thank you and goodbye.
Just really quickly, Hillary, if you just Google search Edmonds dress code policy, you'll find it. And if you can't find it, I will be sending out a student handbook, and that'll have the most up. Actually, just wait until I send out the link. That'll be the best. The main thing though is to make sure that no depictions of violence, drugs, or alcohol. That's the main part that we want to be concerned about.
So again, just want to say thank you, appreciate you all, and have a good evening. Stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you possibly tomorrow.
Sorry, the most recent question is the best one. Karen, I see you raising your hand. If you could just type it into the chat what your question is, we'll try to have this be our last question. That's why she was asking.
I love it.
Can the parents, so we're still recording, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
So 1 last minute. Okay, thank you so much. Go ahead and unmute panelists and say thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye. Take care. Thank you. Nos vemos. Adiós. Pasa buena noche.